What's up, guys? It's Steven here from Cymatics, and welcome to episode 6. That's big. I did not even realize we're already at 6. It's kind of crazy seeing, like, I was reading some comments, and people are like, I watched episode 001, and I didn't expect an 002, and then 003 came out. And, yeah, I think 4. Is 4 up, or is 4 being uploaded today? Yeah, 4 is going to be up today. We already got 5 shot. I'm shooting 6 and 7 today because guess what? I'm hitting the weekends. The YouTube content algorithm literally is favoring, literally favors daily uploads like crazy. Like, volume is super important, so I want to take advantage of that because, I mean, just think about it. Like, if somebody starts liking a channel and let's say somebody likes to consume your content every day, the second you stop uploading and stop putting content up, what's going to happen is that person will go find a new channel, and the second that person finds a new channel, the homepage and every single recommended video changes to their most recent kind of like binging material. So in my opinion, to build that kind of like thing, because I want this to be people's like morning coffee ritual to like check out the show, learn a little bit, hear some good discussions about music production and stuff. I want this to be the morning ritual, and for that to happen, I need to have a lot of volume. So I'm going to be pumping content nonstop. And by the way, guys, podcast is killer format. Like, if you really think about it, like, podcast is one of the lowest effort things. Like, I used to do something similar to this back in the day just with my iPhone video. And so don't think you need any fancy equipment or cameras. Like, literally, you could interview people on Skype and have your own little podcast show and pumping episodes. So if you guys want to challenge me on the daily uploads, I will take you up on that challenge and see how you can grow the channel. I think we've gotten to about 1.6 thousand subscribers on this. Always have fun growing a new channel. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put out probably 50 to 100 episodes of the show. I'm going to have some awesome featured guests coming up actually real soon. San Holo's coming in town to work with us on some stuff. I'm really excited. I'm going to get him on the podcast. Have my friend Ryan. I actually want to get on here. His name's OTR. He just got signed to Capitol Records. I'm going to get him up here. Kato producer, who's killing it right now with Instagram content. He's a killer beat producer. I'm going to get him on the show. Drew's obviously going to be hopping in here as well. But yeah, guys, I'm going to be getting more people in on this. I think it's a really cool way to collaborate. Probably, it's going to turn into better and better discussions the more people we get. I mean, there's probably going to be I want arguments on the show where I'm sitting there debating somebody on what they think, because the funny thing is I actually clash heads with a lot of artists and how they think about certain things. It's kind of funny. But anyways, yeah, let's get into the show.
My question to Ask Cymatics is, are there any free softwares that people can use in case they don't have access to Ableton Live or FL Studios where we can use your packs? Because in some certain apps, your packs don't work. So I was wondering if there's any other running that are available so we can use them.
All right, so Brad, so a couple things I'm going to tell you here. After running Instagram, I started bumping into a lot of different types of producers, and I didn't even know the kind of mobile app producer was really a thing until I started doing it. And the thing is that there's going to be a lot of random options to where maybe you can get free versions, or sometimes you can get a version of Ableton Lite, like comes free with different packages and stuff if you buy like a little MIDI keyboard or something. I know FL Studio has a trial version, and then I know that there's a bunch of the FL Studio mobile type things that are obviously much cheaper than buying a full out version of FL Studio. But I mean, my biggest suggestion would be to try to get your hands on a light version, like an Ableton Lite or something. I know it still costs money and you're asking for a free thing, but the reason I'm saying this is because if you look at the long run, like, you're going to have to learn it, you know what I'm saying? And I know there's some, companies and stuff that use payment plans, but like one of the most important things is probably getting your hands on a higher end piece of software. Like, I wouldn't get I don't even know is Mixcraft cost money? I don't even know if Mixcraft costs money these days. I remember that was like an old school one. I know GarageBand is free on some Macs. And when it comes to like music production, like, honestly, some of the mobile apps, they're not quite there. They're not the same level as something like an FL Studio, an Ableton, a Logic Pro, or something like that. So, I mean, my biggest suggestion would be to get a light version. I would even mess around in the free trial FL Studio version until you figured something out. Jordan, can you look up what's the price of FL Studio right now? Yeah, I would definitely try and get your hands on one of the full versions and lean away from that stuff. You can use it at the beginning stages, okay? But if you're getting our packs and stuff, I would say before you even buy any of our packs, I would lean towards like trying to get yourself a regular version. I don't care if it's a birthday present. Go cut lawns, go do some work, and like do anything you can. Save up a little money, you know what I'm saying? And a couple paychecks will get you a regular version of FL Studio or something like that. So I'm gonna say that like any other option that you're going to pick is going to be kind of temporary, and you should be always striving towards kind of that longer term thing. What is it? $100?
No, that's for like the subscription.
For what? Like payment?
Yeah, there's a couple different payment options. So you can buy it in full, like the bundle, or I think what most people go through is the producer.
Which is $200.
Yeah, no plugins.
All right, $200. I'm not sure where you're from exactly, but I mean that's 1 week's paycheck. Go cut some grass, go do like some sort of job, go sell some stuff that you have at your house. Go ask your parents, go ask for support, whatever it may be. Go do something and try to get yourself on the real version, because I guarantee you, almost no matter where you're from, I don't even care if you're getting on Fiverr. You can put together that cash for it, and once you do get your hands on something that's a bit stronger, and for the people who are using FL Studio Mobile, for the people who are using the mobile apps and trying to kind of use a little smaller, lightweight, watered down versions of the program, once you get your hands on an FL Studio or an Ableton, I'm telling you, it's a world of difference. So I'm gonna go the exact opposite. I'm gonna say forget about music production, go hustle it out of whatever job you can and get your hands on a real version. Don't even buy our packs or worry about any of that, because it makes that much of a difference. Dude, I was selling real quick. I was 15 years old and I made like $1,300 1 week on consistent basis. I was making $500 or $600. I was knocking on people's doors selling newspapers. I was literally a newspaper salesman, and for my local paper, and I would literally go to people's doors. I'd give them my whole pitch, and I would try to sell newspapers. Okay, there's so many jobs like that literally are out there that you could make that money pretty quickly, and you have to hustle it out. I knocked on a crazy amount of doors. I got people to cuss me out, tell me get the hell out of here, all this stuff. Went in some sketch neighborhoods. I did all kinds of stuff. Drew's had tons of jobs as well. There's jobs out there, and I would say just focus on that. Get your full version, and then get back in the studio.
Axel wants to know, what would be the best way to not give up on a song, especially when you're stuck at one point and you're not really sure about how to go any further?
So if you're stuck on a song, first off, just keep in mind, this happens to everybody. I mean, we've heard countless story after story of somebody working on a record, them, getting kind of stuck on it, putting it on the backlog, for literally sometimes like 6 months to a year, all of a sudden later going back, approaching it, working on it, or collaborating on it, releasing it, that becomes a hit record, okay? And, one of the reasons it's tough and you get to that point of being stuck is because usually you work on it so long, you start to become blind to the actual song. Okay, after us as producers, after we hear something 500-600 times, we no longer hear it like from a fresh perspective. So one of the things that you can do is not actually worry about finishing it. Sometimes you can just actually put it behind you, save it, and then reapproach it in like a 2 to 3 week window. Another thing you can do is you can actually send it off to somebody else to finish it. All right, treat it as a collab. Don't think in terms of like sometimes producers, if they like a song, they'll try to be selfish. Like, I can make this a big hit and it's going to be my name and I'm going to get out there, rather than and it never actually gets done or released, Another approach you can take is actually keeping it simple, right? So sometimes you'll make, an intro build-up drop and then you get stuck. Like, that's a very, very common point. People don't know how to get to that next phase. And one thing that you can do is you can actually make a worse version of the song. So literally sometimes just copy and paste the intro, saying, okay, let me just bring this back and bring in the same drop, and then, use something very similar for the outro. So then the song's very repetitive, but at least it gets you to that completion point, right? And then you can start playing around, subtracting and stuff, rather than thinking so hard about it. And one of the things that helped me complete more songs was actually when I was studying how Drew was making hip-hop beats. I noticed that hip-hop beats, they're not thinking as hard a lot of times. They're just trying to complete the song. The goal is to leave a lot of the creativity still open for the rapper or singer to come on it, right? So when I started seeing that, when I started working on lo-fi, the same thing happened. It wasn't like EDM. It wasn't like I was sitting there trying to perfect every piece and burn as much creativity as possible. It was just about creating a really catchy loop and honestly not doing too much with it. Let it just kind of ride, right? When I started taking that approach to even working on more EDM type stuff, I started worrying less, and you kind of get in a better flow. And then honestly, fuck it, just complete it. It's okay if it's not perfect, it doesn't change up. At least you kind of completed something. You can go back and tweak it. At least that gets you past that point of I can't add any more song to it because you're worried about what it sounds like. You know what I'm saying? And And in longer term, if you focus on just completing songs, even if they're not perfect, just completion, finish, like fully done. I'm not talking about like keep reapproaching, like fully finishing them. You'll just get into better habit and a better nature of actually completing them. And then sometimes what you'll realize is that what you believe sounds repetitive, what you believe doesn't sound that great. You put it to a regular fan and they think it's fucking awesome. Okay, it's like a weird producer dilemma that we can't actually judge our own music that great. Even like the best producers always say the same thing, like, oh, I had no idea this song was going to blow up. I had no idea like people were going to like that track. I thought this track was the best because, you know, when you're working on the songs, you're personally attached to it, and that personal attachment changes the perception of the song itself, right? And that's a very, very important thing to note. So yeah, I would work on those things. Don't worry about it too much. Try to get more songs completed. And if you are stuck on that song, like I said, don't worry too much. Sometimes you can just copy and paste other sections, get it done, reapproach it later, and you'll be fine.
Iron Squid asks, why do most people have an issue with determining how to EQ their sounds?
If you're having problems doing EQ, first thing I'm going to say is that don't overcomplicate it, okay? If you see a lot of the top level, you know, people doing EQ, it doesn't look like the crazy picture that you see you know, advertised. Okay, there's even that meme. Actually, Sam, go ahead and flash that meme in this part right here. I want people to see it. It's on our Cymatics page where people are like, how EQ is actually used, and it's just like, you know, a little like a little bit being cut off, and then it's like you see the clip where it's like how EQ is advertised, and it shows like the bands going in all different directions and crazy stuff, right? So it sounds like, you know, you're still in the early stages of production if you're asking a question like this. And the thing I would suggest is that really not doing too much when it comes to EQ. An easy way to think about it, let's say if you have some chords or piano chords, a bass, and let's say some vocals, and you know some high-end sounds like hi-hats and stuff like that. What you want to do is you want to like keep most of the stuff like kind of cut off for the low end, right? So that way your bass kind of has rooms to hit, and then just by doing that and leaving some room for your bass, your mix will already sound like 10 times better. And really just not complicating it too much, just keeping things kind of clean. Don't do any like crazy stuff, and you'll be a lot better. And just leaving room open for your bass. And this kind of question, by the way, is better represented in probably some actual technical videos. So we'll do some more stuff like that on our Cymatics Instagram, as well as probably our Cymatics YouTube channel as well.
Federico wants to know, how can I balance real instruments with MIDI and synths?
For me on this question, this is going to be my personal opinion because I personally love to use guitars in my music. It's one of the things I've been doing nonstop, and I actually wasn't able to do that for years. So I was a big fan of artists like Shlomo. I was a big fan of Petit Biscuit. I was a big fan of what I heard a lot of stuff that Odessa was doing, because I do a lot of that chill music. And the reason I love those guys is because they took electronic music and they fused it with a lot of like guitars and stuff. And I was never able to do that because I'm not a guitar player. I'm absolutely trash at guitar. But the cool part is, and how I've learned how to fuse it in with kind of more electronic type sounds is that when we started coming out with, for me, it was guitar packs, but if you personally know how to play guitar and stuff, or personally know how to play live instruments, you can do this as well. For me personally, so what I do is, you know, I'll lay down some chords in MIDI, right? And then I'll change it to piano or whatever sound I want. And then what I'll do is I'll bring in like some sort of guitar loop and I'll layer it on top into the track, make sure it's in the same key. And then one way I like to fuse these two things together is I actually like to take those guitar samples, and what I'll do is I'll start to chop up those live instruments. I've done it with saxophone. I've done it with, like I said, guitar samples and other stuff. I start to rearrange them. And then what I do is, as a producer infusing electronic music, I'm rearranging the guitar melodies, which start to sound like new melodies, right? Because you got to think, if the guitar player is playing certain notes and I'm rearranging them like I would chop vocal samples, you can really do some cool stuff. So, you know, when it comes to infusing it with your regular music, something I like to do is just start with some basic chords getting laid down, and then layer on some maybe loops and stuff and start playing around with those and see how it works for you. This is just what I do, and you can actually go to my IG and check it out because it works really well for us. For you, you know, you're gonna have to figure out your own cadence on this, but those are just my suggestions.
Joe asks, how do you make unique drums for your sample packs?
All right, the art of making sample packs. This starts off 20 years ago. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so when it comes to making unique drums for sample packs, I think something important to note is that so for us, we've done it, there's 1,000 different ways to do it. I think there's that old quote, what is it? There's 1,000 different ways to skin a cat or something. By the way, I don't have a problem with cats or whatever, want to skin a cat. Actually, my mom owns 8 cats. So fun fact, 8 cats growing up. Anyways, yeah. So when it comes to making drum samples, something important to note is that there's 1,000 different ways to do it. There's a guy Lathion on our team. He's really great at like synthesizing sound. So he'll make a lot of stuff straight out of Serum, and he'll make it sound great. And the dude's like super, like one of the best sound designers in the world. And he takes like a synthetic approach to doing a lot of that stuff. I've seen Drew is somebody who can take literally any sound. I'm talking any sound like that and turn it into a kick drum, turn it into a fucking crazy snare, turn it into a dubstep snare, lo-fi. Like he can do it all, right? Something that I really like is starting with a good base of actually like high quality Foley recording. So what we do is we get into the studio, we literally will record random sounds, stuff like that, right? But we'll get, hundreds of them. We'll start processing them in different weird ways and layering in like live recordings, and then take them to the studio and start processing them, stacking them together. Drew even has a post on how to make, he did a quick little video on how to make a sample pack. People seem to really like it, but he showed a little bit of that process. So the 2 things on making drums unique: 1, get new batches of recordings, and then 2 is going to be really understanding drum processing, which is a very, very, very tricky thing that I'm definitely not an expert of, not even close. And the guys who know how to do drum production aren't even great producers per se. They're great drum processors and drum designers, okay? Completely different categories. You would think that they're the same thing, but they're not, okay? Only because somebody's a great EDM producer does not mean they can score a movie, okay? And that's kind of what this is. Only because somebody has, can mix their drums great in a song doesn't mean they can design those original drums from scratch. It takes a lot of effort and a certain type of person. So when it comes to making those unique drum sounds, 2 things I would say is 1, just having unique recordings really helps if you want to mess around with your own. And then second thing is get really good at drum processing, which is going to take you a long time. All right, guys, I'm going to be taking in a live question right now. So one thing you can do is drop questions. I have 3 different feeds. I'm going to be just moving my head all over the place, catching one of these live questions. I like to usually take it as the last question. So yeah, go ahead and drop them in, and then we will take one question live. I got a good question here. All right, this question's from, let me go ahead and screenshot here so I have it for later if we need it. All right, so R.Y. Rafu Ferdinand, sorry if I botched your Instagram name. He asked, is music school or college worth it, okay? I wanted to answer this question because you're talking to a college dropout here. I've had drastically different opinions than people that go to school, and I've had these opinions probably since freshman year of college. And this is the way I look at it. And, I know a lot of people are in school. Some people can work under that framework, but let me tell you what I believe is the best strategy when it comes to school. And let me go ahead and tell you the hurdles that you're going to have to overcome. So the first thing is, it's pretty obvious that a lot of people's decision to go to school or not is heavily enforced by their parents or by their family members, right? It's no secret that, society and your parents are going to constantly tell you, hey, you need to go to school, you're going to pay for it. And then otherwise what they'll say is they'll say something, almost the same thing. It's the weirdest thing. Almost every parent says the same thing. They say, oh, if you're not going to go to school, you got to get a job, right? Or they say, oh, if you're not going to go to school, what are you going to work at McDonald's? Isn't that a weird thing that we've heard over and over again? Some reason the society has believed that if you don't go to school, you're going to work a minimum wage job or you're not going to be able to get a job somewhere, okay? And first off, I'm going to say that I didn't believe that. And so for my story, I was looking at, the way internet and this whole social media thing was blowing up. And I was like starting to realize something like, it was really weird for me to see me, literally go onto Google and ask a question like, how do I do this? How do I build a website? How do I do graphic design? How do I do video? How do I do music production, right? How to use FL Studio. And I started realizing is that Google is like the sum of all human knowledge in digital form. It's so powerful, yet this whole college notation is something that's coming back from a very, very long time ago, 70s, 80s, 90s. It's been ingrained in us. And now with every single piece of information at your fingertips, is it worth it to pay for it? Well, that's going to be the questions you really need to start asking yourself. Is it worth it for me to pay 40 grand, 60 grand, 80 grand? And if you're going to go into extreme debt, I'm going to say the answer is no, because climbing out of that, I don't think it's necessarily that good. And also, just for me, what I did was I literally failed all my classes on purpose. And it sounds fucking crazy, and people thought I was crazy way back. So what I did was, I still remember to this day, it was like finals week, and I had dropped all my classes on purpose because I tried to drop out the first time and I got talked into going back. And so I go back for a semester. And at the end of the semester, I was like a sophomore, 20 years old, roughly 19 years old maybe. I realized that the pressure from my parents, and I realized that, you know, my family and everybody who thought school was a good idea, I just didn't believe it. So what I did was I dropped out of every single class, but I didn't just drop out because then I could go back. I failed every class on purpose, and to the point to where I couldn't go back. They kicked me out. And what I did was I told my parents, I said, hey, I'm going to pursue this thing, you know, this music career thing. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I'm going to hustle my face off on it. And what happened is that there was a lot of friction at the beginning, a lot of pushback on my parents, but guess what? I started waking up every day at 5 a.m. I started going absolutely in. I started learning about social media. I started trying different ideas out. I was flexible. I started learning about video editing. I learned how to build websites. I learned how to do all this different stuff because what I did was I burned the boats. Okay, so there's this thing about Cortez when he landed on the enemy land. What he did was he burned all the ships so his soldiers couldn't go home. The only way to go home was to conquer the enemy. And then so when you have your back against a wall and there's no way out, I think you fight 10 times harder. So for me, what I did was I did that. I hustled my face off. People thought I was crazy. Drew did the same exact thing, by the way. He dropped out of school too. We hustled our absolute face off. And what happened was it took about a year, but finally we decided to start Cymatics, and then finally that took off. And the point, I would have just graduated right now. Like this day would have probably been like May coming up would have been my graduation date. That's how far it was. Would I have rather took that diploma or reaching millions of people with Cymatics, having an amazing community and all this stuff we've built and all the skills I've had? I would take that every day of the week. And so if you're judging whether college or school is worth it, I would say it's more like worth what? You know, is it worth you waking up at 5 a.m. every day, going in on hustling on your own thing? I think that time is more valuable than anything else. If you're the type of person who's just going to sit around and play video games, then maybe going to school would be worth it for you. But if you're going to be a person who comes out of school and you're just going to be partying the whole time, I think you're literally fucked. So with that being said, I'm roasting Sam over here because Sam went to school, so he's listening. He's just taking the full roasting. Yeah, guys. But, you know, I will say it's different for everybody, you know. If you're going to go to school, you're not going to be in debt, and you're going to be hustling your face off, you know, hey, it might not be that bad for you, you know. It's all a balanced game, but what I will say is that don't rely on the school. The school should be just something to aid you. You should still be hustling your face off. Like turning in assignments is not enough. You should be building an Instagram page. Turning assignments is not enough. You should be emailing and DMing everybody in the industry. And then what'll start to happen is you'll start to get so much results from that shit. You ask, wait, should I sit in class or should I just DM another 40 producers and try to get connected, right? Yo, guys, so check it out. Ask Cymatics is episode 6. Every month I'm going to be doing a giveaway, and all you have to do to be eligible for the giveaways is go to the. I'll go ahead and flash it. Oh, hitting the mic. I'm going to flash it all around. Got so many live streams going on. If you want to be eligible for the giveaway, all you got to do is go to the Ask Cymatics Show YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button, and we're going to be doing a giveaway every single month, so be sure to check that out. And yeah, guys. Last thing I'm going to say is, if you have a question, I want you to drop it on the last YouTube channel. Or if you want to be like Brad, was it Brad? If you want to be like Brad and get a video feature, one of the best things you can do is just send a video into ask@cymatics.fm. It takes 2 fucking seconds to get a selfie video in, and you are borderline guaranteed to get on the show. I'm really excited about that. But anyways, I enjoyed chatting with all of you. I'm actually going to be shooting a second episode today. I probably won't be living because I already lived this one, but I hope you guys will enjoy it. Peace out.
Let's take a look at that detection plant.